Hey y'all, Eric Adcock, This Awkward Life. Welcome back to the podcast. You know, it's always helpful when you know all the information, and to be honest with you, I don't guess it was really information that caused me to react the way I was. I think it was just reactions, but then afterwards the information kind of would have been helpful, but probably not. Probably better to have them the way it is. So anyway, I had a meeting with some people the other day, and not gonna reveal who all that was, but anyway, we had a meeting about a job or something like that. Well, anyway, so we got in there, and it was brought up that they had somebody else they were going to bring on board to work with this or help me and all that. And I'm automatically like, no, I'm out. Listen, I'm out. If this person's in, I'm out. And there were some reasons I felt that way. Not so much on the person that they mentioned, just some of the maybe the inadequacies I felt at the time. But I'm like, look, I'm out. If they're a part of it, I'd just rather be out of it. Just be honest with you. And we worked through it and stuff like that. And I come to realize that what they'll be a help. I just didn't really like the idea of it to begin with. And so I kind of wrestled with that the rest of the day, upset that I had showed my feelings and stuff, and then wrestled all night with that, to be honest with you, just really upset with myself. And then the next morning I woke up, and this story in the Bible come to me about Paul and Barnabas. And Barnabas wanted John Mark to come with him, and Paul was against it 100% up until the play. This story almost mimicked the meeting I was in 24 hours before. I just kind of wish I'd have known about it before then. Well, I did know, I just forgot. It's funny how God brings things to your remembrance, right? But anyway, there was just this big stink, how we say in the South, between the Apostle Paul and Barnabas about a young man named John Mark. And I've done a little research on it, and not a whole lot, because there's not a lot written about the reasons why. There's some speculations that, maybe Paul didn't want him to come along because he had quit in a prior journey. And but one of the writers that I was looking up said that perhaps Barnabas was trying to put John Mark in a position to redeem himself. And I thought about that a lot because I have done that in the past. There's a specific thing that I was asked to do one year, and I did it. And the next year, there was I lost my dad, and then my mom was sick at the time, and I wasn't able to follow up 100%. And I backed out on this group of people. Is a church event. I backed out on them. Not at the last minute, but they was trying to get me to commit, and I just couldn't. I had so much going on, and they knew that, but it was other than that. It was other things than my father passing away and my mother being sick. There's just some other personal issues I was dealing with, and so I couldn't commit. And so I just said, look, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm sorry for the shorter notice, but I just can't participate in that, and there was nothing wrong. It was a wonderful cause. I don't know if anybody out there is like me, but sometimes you can't commit to something all the way, and you live with those decisions. And I would love to go back and revisit some of those opportunities I had prior to me backing out, but those have never resurfaced again. And for whatever reason, I'm good with that. But I was in places that I just couldn't commit. And maybe that's where John Mark was. He was like, I just can't fully commit to it. Or maybe he just didn't want to, or for whatever reason. But it's been speculated that Barnabas was trying to, hey, let's bring him. And, and then there was just a sharp, so sharp that sharpened of a disagreement that Paul went one way and Barnabas went the other, But later on, in the scripture, Paul's like, they were talking and said he'd bring John Mark because he's profitable to me. And that had to have been really good for John Mark to have been, God redeems us just instantly. And a lot of times in the eyes of men, in the eyes of humans, fleshly people, a lot of times it's hard to find that right away. You may, and I'm not saying it's right, but you may make a mistake and it be years before you're redeemed in the eyes of people. And I'm not saying that's bad for people or anything like that, but it's not the forgiveness of people and the memories that you left and the things that you did. It's not all the time 100% redeemable at that moment. So I'm thankful for those redeeming times and those redeeming qualities, and I'm thankful that the Lord felt it enough to leave that story in the Bible, because we could have wiped that away, and Paul and Barnabas and all those guys could have, in our minds, never had an argument, never had a falling out. But God, in His infinite wisdom, left that in there to help someone like me on a day that I felt like I've made so many mistakes and things like that, that I'm thankful that Paul, most likely through prayer and fasting, said, what, bring John Mark, because he's profitable to me. And I hope the Lord can say that about me. I hope I'm profitable. And I hope y'all are too. I hope we all live a profitable life. And I hope that we're all can be redeemed for the mistakes that we've made. Not sinful type, not, sinful, terrible sins, but just, of just not being able to commit to a situation and then backing out of a situation, or being, catch you in a moment of controversy, or a moment that you're not a conflict with people. I hope that we all can be redeemed for that. And I hope I'm better at forgiving and redeeming people after an incident where I seemingly would have said some things that probably would have been taken in a different light. So anyway, hey, I hope everybody's having a great and profitable day. Thank you for listening to my podcast. And y'all have a great day.